Hello, welcome to Business Keeps on Dancing. Can you let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay, you can see me okay? Hello, there we go. Great. Cool. Got loads of people in. So where's everyone tuning in from today? Let me know in the chat. Hong Kong, wow. Manchester, Amsterdam, Malta, Brighton, Madrid. Very nice. I'm sure they're hopefully a lot warmer and sunnier than where I am in Liverpool. Okay, cool. Is anyone joining for the first time? Yeah, okay, well, welcome. And has anyone watched a few of them before? Anyone coming back for a second time? Nice, good to see. Okay, cool. Well, we'll get started. So yeah, thank you to everyone for tuning in today. It's been a while since our last episode, so it's really good to be back and chatting with everyone today. So it's been, it's been since we last spoke of at least it's been a roller coaster of a year. Many things have changed since then, but it's a really good feeling to say we're now in a position where we can finally plan for the return of events and hopefully all of their glory in 2021. So January is now gearing up to be one of the busiest and probably the most important launch period to date. And what we'll soon find is that every festival and event needs to come back with a bang. But what that's going to mean is that there's going to be more competition than ever before, because we've got events all around the world needing to launch soon and probably within similar timeframes. So what we want to dig a bit deeper in today is how can you make sure everything is set up for success for your launch, everything from ticketing down to your launch creative. There's a lot to think about ahead of January to make sure your launch is set up for a success. So today we want to explore the big questions that we think you should be thinking about to make sure your launch creates a huge impact. So it's a pleasure to be in such great company today with our panel. And we're going to discuss the return of events for next year. So we've got Sam Kandel, who's the co-founder of Warehouse Project and Parklife. We've got Victor de la Serna, who's the music director of Elrow. And then we've also got Rob Wilmshurst, who's the group CEO of See Tickets. So huge thank you to the guys for joining us today. I'm sure they're very busy planning ahead for next year, so really appreciate them taking the time to join us today. So we're going to start off with Sam first from Warehouse Project and Parklife. So for those of you who've possibly not heard of Warehouse Project and Parklife, Warehouse Project is the iconic club series and event series that happens in Manchester each winter, and then we've also got Parklife, which is the huge Metropolitan Festival that happens over in Manchester as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Sam. I'm sure you're very busy planning ahead for next year.
No problem. I like that comment. WHP is the best. I agree. Yes. No, we've all been very busy, kind of moving things around, and obviously everyone's done a lot of. Hi, Rich. We've all done a lot of planning for shows that haven't happened, but hopefully now we're on the other side of that and planning, looking ahead positively. 21, it's all back on, and so that's certainly been keeping everyone busy. So,
yeah, good, really good to see. So it's great to see that Parklife is back for 2021, and you've recently announced a new date for September, which is really exciting. So can you tell us any more about what's in store for 2021?
Well, yeah, I mean, as we were discussing earlier, obviously we actually booked a whole lineup for June, and then literally the day after we'd booked the last act, we just thought, well, after all of this work, we're going to give ourselves the best possible chance for success and make the move to September, which obviously is a first time for Parklife. Normally it's Warehouse Project in the winter. Parklife is the kind of bookends the start of the summer rather than the end. But everyone's having to kind of flex their way through it, and that felt like the right call for us. Obviously, everyone's in a slightly different scenario depending on where you are in the world. But yeah, we're feeling very positive about it. We've got a good lineup with which we're still finishing again, but yeah, that's all come together quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're just kind of looking forward to January. I think, you know, the fact that the vaccine is being rolled out, and, you know, I think everyone's going to be feeling positive. It's all about making sure that when you do that announcement, everyone shares that belief that that it's going to be successful.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm really excited to catch the lineup when it comes out as well.
Yeah.
I think one big thing that really stands out with the Parklife launches, I think it's become quite iconic with the reveal of the branding, the artwork, and there's always quite a clear theme with the artwork, which I think always blows me away each year. But I think the important thing to take away from that is that it creates a narrative for the campaign, and I think it's really important for events to be thinking, you know, outside of just lineup and tickets, what we're talking about, you know, what is the brand all about.
Sure.
So yeah, I'd love to know a bit more about what goes into the creative process of landing on the theme. I know this year you've got the game show.
Yeah, I think generally we always try to, not just with Parklife, but with kind of all of our events, we always try and connect it into like wider culture.
Yeah.
You know, like it's all like, we don't like, I mean, it's not to say that every event that we do is like this, but we don't like it when it's just a lineup. You know, that's not really what we're about. And you know, with Parklife, we have this opportunity of referencing kind of these other big cultural kind of touch points in people's lives.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, when you try, we find that when you're trying to appeal to, you know, Parklife's 80,000 people, you're trying to kind of embed yourself in mass culture effectively. So being able to tap into like TV or film or any of those things, and you know, I think there's very few things in the world where you get an opportunity to kind of manipulate kind of modern culture like that, you know, so we kind of make the most of it. Obviously, it becomes a little bit, you know, with these videos that we've done before, they take a huge amount of time and a huge amount of money to produce. So, you know, sometimes it's difficult to always kind of keep ratcheting it up,
yeah.
You know, because, you know, if you do it one year, it's like, what are you going to do the next? You've got to do something different. But yeah, it all comes together at the end, you know. So, and this year it was Ollie in our office who said that he felt like he'd been living in a game show for the last year. So that was where the game show theme kind of came from. Yeah.
Nice, really like it. And yeah, you mentioned the incredible video productions, which I think really builds up anticipation. I think it's something that people are actively looking out for, as well as the lineup itself. With a year off parties, essentially in the format that we know and love them. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of latent demand for events coming back next year. But what do you think is the factor that's going to get customers hyped for next year? Is it just as much about the lineup, or do you think it's just more about the experience in itself and just, you know, getting back to parties?
I think there's less emphasis on the lineup than there would be normally.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I think, as you mentioned, there's going to be a huge amount of the market's going to be quite saturated, and you know, one way to kind of make your event the one that kind of the go to the hot ticket is going to be via the lineup. I think more than that, I think it's going to be the events that kind of harness that, you know, the kind of the spirit of kind of the return. I think they're the ones who are going to really succeed.
Yeah. And I guess it's a party that's been 2 years in the making now, with having a year off. Did you find this was a year to kind of reset and kind of, you know, really, you know, evaluate what you want to do with the event next year? Because I think this, you know, for anyone who works in events, and I'm sure many people tuned in today it's, you know, it's so fast paced, you know, you often don't really have a chance to catch your breath, and it's a really hard time to really look back at what you've just done, because you're always kind of rolling into the next show. So has this year off gave you a different idea of how you'd approach the festival any differently after having a year break?
I think one of the strengths of the Wales project is that we only do it for that 3 months in the year. So we always have that opportunity to kind of, you know, you do the season and then you sit back, you look at what worked, you look at how you might want to change it moving forward. Having said that, I've been saying for the last 10 years, the best thing we could do with the Wales project is have a year off. You know, if you just took it away for a year, then everyone's appreciation would go up. People just become numb to it after a while, even if it is only there for a period. Obviously, we would never have designed for that year off to happen as it has, but I do think that the value that people put on a night out at the Wales project 12 months ago, you know, is nothing compared to the value that they will put on it when it comes back. You know, that experience for people has gone way up, you know, in terms of value. Yeah,
totally agree. All right, well, thanks, Sam. Thanks for taking the time to tune in, and I'll keep my eyes out for the Parklife lineup, hopefully coming very soon. So next up, we've got Victor de la Serna. So pleasure to have you with us today, Victor. So I'm sure you guys have been keeping very, very busy over at Elrow. And one thing for sure is that Elrow is not a brand that sits still. And I know you guys are always keeping really busy. Even without your physical events, you've done quite a lot to keep your audience engaged. So we did catch up earlier in the year on a different panel for Business Keeps on Dancing. And you were keeping everyone entertained at home, from cooking classes with Aurelia to your very first VR show, which I was checking out recently. Yeah. You've been a very busy guy. How are you getting on?
Yeah, it's been okay. I mean, it's obviously been weird for everyone, but I mean, even for us, when we started doing all these events online, it's a completely new world for us. You know, we used to run festivals and parties all over the world, but none of us have really done virtual events before. So it was a pretty big learning curve for us. And as you said at the beginning, we were doing anything from cooking with Rogelia to fitness to DJ sets to everything. Now we've, you know, especially once the hard lockdown finished in Spain and we were able to to move around a little bit, then we try to find like special locations or do like proper stages in our warehouse and give more of the Elrow feel to the to the people at home. And I think people have been really appreciative. I mean, the numbers that we have reached are huge. They're in the millions for one event. So I guess you see both sides of the coin. You obviously want to go back to events, but then you realize that you can also do quite good things while you're just online.
Yeah, nice. So as the return of events is slowly approaching for next year, I think with Elrow in particular, you've got quite a unique set of challenges when it comes to running shows all over the world. So what can you tell us any more about what Elrow have got planned for 2021?
For us, like you say, we run events worldwide. So for us, the biggest challenge is to try to navigate all the restrictions in every country, because the one thing that I see that has been a failure worldwide in the pandemic is that each country has gone a different direction. Some ones have gone on a hard lockdown, some ones haven't. So that's why the level of the pandemic is completely different no matter where you look. So we cannot, we're not confident saying that we're going to do events here first or there first, just because, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, things in Spain are changing on a daily basis pretty much, so we need to be careful. We are, we have a few shows announced. We have a show in Liverpool on the 1st of May announced, which just sold out as well. We have an event in July in New York announced. But those are things that have shows that have been moving, and that we think that will happen. We're not really looking at anything previous to the summer because we don't think it's realistic that we're gonna be able to go back to the events as we knew it. But I think now with as Sam was saying, with the vaccines being rolled out in the US this week, in the UK last week, Spain is rolling out the vaccines on the first week of January, on the 4th of January, I believe. That's gonna, it's definitely changed the scenery. It's definitely changed the way people are perceiving the future the minute that the vaccines are starting to roll out. You know, you talk to agencies, you talk to promoters, and the general feeling is quite positive. As if you asked me 2 months ago, it was completely the opposite. You know, people were still in a dark tunnel with no light at the end. But now there is light.
Yeah.
Ibiza is the same. Ibiza is kind of waking up. You know, people are trying to work how they can go back to events. So I don't know when. I wish I knew. I think that's the main problem of the situation. The uncertainty of when are we going to start doing events again. But I think summer will be, summer we will see a return to events. I reckon from Easter we'll start seeing a small return to events. That hopefully by summer we will be in full force again.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that there are so many moving parts to things next year. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in our term, we're mainly working for Ibiza and Barcelona, which is the closest ones and the ones we know. You know,
yeah.
For the other ones, obviously we have our festivals in London or in Amsterdam. We have Monegros Festival also in Spain. So those things we are quite, they're at the end of August, early September. So I think we should be able to do them by then, with the vaccine and with the fast testing, then hopefully we can. But let's see.
Fingers and toes crossed. It's possible. So with it's interesting to think that, looking towards Easter and summer for events returning, but also looking into the year we've just had, and, a lot of people had to innovate and pivot into new ways to keep people engaged. And Elrow, as I mentioned before, did a great job of that. You guys have got a global audience. I think just from what I can see from the events you've been putting on, it's actually interesting to see how things like virtual events can reach a global audience with just one event. And it seems like from the figures you mentioned, that you've done a really good job on those. One of my main questions for next year is, do we think we're going to continue to see virtual events continue into 2021? Is it going to be a trend that's going to stick? And I think there's an element to it that we think, if events aren't coming back until summertime, then brands have still got to keep people engaged before them, and it is a long campaign to go until events can
yeah.
And so I just wanted to ask you a few questions around, has this opened up the market for you? Do you plan to continue virtual events into 2021?
We're planning to continue with virtual events in one way or another. We've realized that the thing that we saw, and obviously this was a new situation for all of us, So at the beginning, all the DJs were doing live streams from their bedroom, live streams from their living room, and I think at the beginning we all rushed to do a lot of things. We rushed to do a lot of things that maybe if we stopped and think about it, and we as well, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. We were the first ones to start doing a lot of things online, But you just want to, as you say, you want to keep your crowd engaged. You want to keep everyone still glued to the computers, and you want to keep your brand relevant, while you don't have events, which for an offline brand is also quite hard. But then we realized that you spend time in production, you spend money in production, you treat it as if it was a real offline event. And people appreciate it when you do things a little bit different. We had shows in Casa Batlló that was huge in terms of numbers. We have I see somebody is asking about Sansar on the comments, and we had the Sansar event that was, for us, was completely step into the unknown, which is doing a VR show. And, it was a lot of work, and it was great. The numbers were huge. I mean, we couldn't even imagine the massive numbers that we got in terms of audience. So when you see that, also the brands also see that. We work with Desperados as a partner for our events, so for our online events. So they see that they can reach a lot of people through online, many more than they would in a festival or in a club. So I think now that the healthy thing will be to be able to do both of them, especially if there are no restrictions. We could do events online events in incredible places where you would never be able to do a physical event. So I think it's trying, now that we've been spending pretty much almost a year doing this. I think we've learned the trade of it, and we wanna keep doing it. Obviously, we can't wait to go back to throwing confetti in people's faces. That's the main thing. But I think we will definitely continue doing online events.
Okay, great. Good to see. And can you tell me more about the VR show? Like what was involved? What was the experience like?
Well, the VR show we did because obviously, as we do everything by hand, we never really have our decorations, our themes are not like properly, put on computer or digitized. But last year, if you remember, we started a new project called Elrow Art, which the decoration is made by a modern art artist. And we work with Okuda, which is a Madrid-based artist, colorful, and we did this show called Chaos Garden. So that show was already digitized. So it was easier to put it into a VR world. And we used a club that was already mapped, which is Boots House in Cologne, in Germany. Mm-hmm. And it was great, it was free entry. And a lot of people are charging money on virtual events. We did a free entry, and then you could buy stuff from Elrow. You could buy like costumes, you could buy many different things. You could buy like a Rojalia dress. And it was really good. We even had Donald Trump dancing as an avatar. It was crazy. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great experience. It was as I said, we completely stepped out of our comfort zone, and it was great to do it. And the results, when we saw the results, we were, it's crazy. It was really big. So I'm very happy with the result. I think we will do another one, another VR show.
Great, I'm sold. I'm in. I'll be there.
Yeah.
It's really interesting what you've said though about stepping outside your comfort zone, and I think kind of every time it comes down to January or launch period, there's a bit of a formula for the way that many events launch. But I do really believe in stepping outside your comfort zone and really challenging yourself and the brand to do something different. Elrow certainly doesn't do things in halves, so as we've just heard through the VR event. And just from working with you guys as well over at Mustard Media, I know an incredible amount of time and effort goes into getting your launches right. So I just wanted to ask you, what big questions will you be thinking about when the time comes to launching again?
This is something that I've even been thinking. It's not that we discussed internally or not, but I've even been thinking how do you launch the first proper event? Especially how do we launch the first proper event at our hometown in Barcelona? And our other club where we have our residency. Yeah. It's tough. I mean, I think I really think that people are, like Sam was saying before, the lineup is going to be important, but it's not going to be the main thing. Yeah. I think people are really looking for the experience and for the fact of, they can go out and give a hug to their friends and, and dance together. And I think people are really missing that. I think with Elrow, we are in a good position in a way because, we're a very experiential party and I don't know, it's hard, I think it's going to be nerve-wracking to launch the first party. It has to be huge. I mean, it has to be big, the first one. I'm even nervous about thinking of walking into the club and seeing people already. So, but it's, I don't know. Again, comes to the uncertainty of not knowing when we're going to launch, because in Spain, they change things every day. So they might say, oh, you can open next week. So what on earth do you do when they don't give you enough time? As you know, for us, we need months in advance to to prepare everything and to launch tickets, to do teasers, etc. Yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. It was a good question. I'll take it back to the marketing team as well.
Okay, cool. Maybe something we can catch up in more detail.
Yeah, exactly.
With the sheer volume of shows that Elrow do each year in normal circumstances, you must have launched hundreds, if not thousands, of shows over the years. So for people tuning in today, what would you say are the three biggest factors or the three key ingredients for a successful launch?
Know the market where you're going to launch it. I mean, obviously, if you're not playing in your own city or you're not doing in your own market, just rely on the local promoters. Don't ever go, to any market on your own, because I think it's suicide. If you look at digital marketing, there's always the best days, the best hours, the best time of the day, when to launch it. Look around you. You don't want to do a big launch of a festival at the same time of another competitor festival. There's a lot of things. There's so many things that you need to. It's not like, oh, I've got the flyer ready, let's put it out. No, because you have to look at so many things.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially look at the timings. Know your audience, know how long it's going to take you to sell the tickets, how fast do you normally sell tickets to your audience, you know, what strategy are you going to use to sell tickets, are you going to do contests, are you going to do something with an artist, etc., etc. It's, you know, it takes time to prepare, definitely.
Yeah, it does, and that's exactly why we wanted to do the panel now, because I think if people are thinking of launching in the new year, when it's right, then you do really need to give yourself enough lead time to prepare for these things.
Especially now, I think that was something that we've learned with, I don't know why Siri keeps adding. One thing that we've seen with this, with the pandemic, is that whenever there's a show, I mean, I'm doing a show on Monday in Barcelona in a theater with Andres Campo, with a DJ, and you know, you realize that people are not buying tickets straight away, you know, and I think next year is going to be a similar situation where people are still going to be a bit wary of buying a ticket until it gets closer to the event, because with all the cancellations, and you know, remember how we were in March we're thinking, this by September this will all be over. And, you know, we're in Christmas time and this is still far from over. You know, I think we still have a few months of suffering, especially until the vaccines are properly rolled out, etc., etc. So yeah, next year is going to be interesting in terms of seeing how fast people are willing to buy tickets, how much are people willing to spend on parties, because you know, not only promoters and artists and bars are suffering from this pandemic. You know, people that have jobs that have got out of job, they are suffering from this pandemic. It's not us that are struggling. So, you know, we need to also be thoughtful of the people that have struggled this year, and we don't know how much money they're going to have to, you know, they're going to be able to spend on a party or on a ticket or on a drink. So I think this is helped to do a massive reset of the industry in all kinds, you know, on both on artist fees, to ticket fees, to everything. I think we're going to see a reshuffle of the industry next year. It's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, whereas previously people might have gone to 4 or 5 festivals a year, you know, there might only be one that they choose, and, you know, how do you make sure that they choose that
correct. Yes, that's right.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for the.
I was gonna say, sorry, SIAN, if you give me 1 minute, I saw one person talking about Apollo, and I thought this is something that we were talking before, and I think it's important that, you know, people know that you know, it's not only the vaccine in Barcelona, thanks to Primavera and Mobile Congress and some other people. They did, together with the council and with the Barcelona major, the health department and a hospital. They did a concert and a DJ in Apollo, you know, and about, I think, 500 or 700 people went in. They all had PCR tests. Everyone who was negative was able to go in, and they're gonna do a follow-up. So, you know, it's really a step on the right direction, and it's really, really good. It's really good that this has happened. So hopefully we should know the results in the new year, and hopefully this will help kickstart the events worldwide. You know, not only music, sport events, everything that requires a crowd to attend. So I just wanted to let you know, because I think that's really important to restart the industry again. Okay,
great. Thanks for that, Victor.
Thank you, guys.
So yeah, thanks for your time and insight. And we should be going over to Rob Wilmshurst next. So Rob, can you hear us today?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
There we go. Great.
How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. You good? Hey, before we start, I just want to wish Sam and Victor the best, because obviously without people like that, we don't have a business, and I hope everything goes well for them with their plans and their shows and everything. But anyway, here we are.
Great. Thank you.
Good chat.
Love your festive backdrop.
It's good, isn't it? Hey, I did it myself. The winter wonderland. All the dreams have come true here. Sure.
I certainly am now. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, Rob. I'm sure you're pretty busy on your end as well. So for anyone who's not familiar with See Tickets, See Tickets serves up to 10,000 promoters, festivals and performance venues and sporting events, including the very famous Glastonbury Festival and other events, including Tomorrowland. So we'd love to get your thoughts on what's hopefully a huge year ahead for festivals and events. So Rob, as a ticket agency, I'm sure you've got quite a unique insight into the events industry and all of the thousands of promoters that you're working with at the moment. From your perspective, what's the general consensus for events launching in 2021? Are you gearing up for a busy, hopefully, new year of launches?
Yeah, we are gearing up. We're gearing up off the base of the work we've done during, this terrible period. I don't believe we wasted the crisis. We spent a ton of money on tech.
Yeah.
To try and address the new needs, and I'm glad you mentioned there, Sean, the other segments that we address, sports and cultural stuff and all that type of stuff, because that's important to us too. But I think regarding music, I'm hearing it's going to be busy. I feel it's going to be busy. There's probably going to be some traffic jams in there somewhere. Obviously all the postponements and shows and people buying tickets not knowing if they can use them and all the swap overs and stuff. There's some ragged edges in various places. We're having to be careful. I think we've adapted well to the crisis. I think we've done all the right things. I believe we have for our clients and customers.
Yeah.
Sorry. I need to go. Come on. Sorry. I've got kids. Sorry. No, I think next year would be a great year. I think 2022 will be better, but of course everyone needs to get out of this mess. And it's not clear. But shows are going on sale, tickets are selling. I don't think there'll be any consumer or customer resistance to buying tickets. I don't think the youth certainly are that bothered, but I know, but it's incumbent on everyone to make the environment as safe and secure as they can be. And who knows? Obviously, we thought we were in a 3-week lockdown or whatever it might have been in March, but here we are. It's Christmas, and we're still sat here not having a clue what's going on tomorrow. So it's a bit of a mess, isn't it?
Yeah. You're right, and I think it sounds like there are still moving parts to figure out ahead of next year. But for any event promoters, event owners, marketers who are tuning in today, what do you think they can do to prepare for a successful ticket launch next year, taking into account a lot of the challenges that we have seen this year?
It's a good question. I think if there's any consumer resistance to attending live events, I think it's getting the message out that maybe the tickets will be refunded in the event of cancellation, or the environments will be safe, and all the rest of it. I really don't think there's going to be any messaging that's going to deter customers from going back into the live arena. Really, you wake up and you're told stay in your house because you're going to die. We do. As soon as they say go out and do what you want, we will. It's that binary. So I think there'll be pockets for people that will still be nervous about it. People who are obviously caring or related to people that may be vulnerable. We can totally understand that, but I think the mass market, mass audience is going to be there, not a problem at all. So look, we're bullish about the prospects for the business, the industry. I think we'll continue its upward trajectory that we've seen over the past 10 or 20 years. I think it's I think the lockdown has told us all that social interactions extremely important to everybody, and the live market or live business is important, very, very important part of that. It's the centre of gravity. It draws people out towards a common destination, a common interest, a common passion, and it's what we need. So I think all factors considered, plus the artists probably want to earn some money as well. I mean, all the components are there. I think it's just as long as there's enough technical capacity and not enough and not too much expertise is left with the industry, because I'm not in the production game, but a lot of these people are self-employed and they're working from tour or campaign or gig, bouncing between the three. They can only sustain those sort of losses or unemployment for so long, and it's going to go get, they'll have to go get a job. So, that's probably the only thing, but I can't really comment from any qualified position of perspective there, because that's not my thing, but it's just a vibe. I get, hopefully all the back office components, also production assets are in place, I should say, in personnel, make these things happen.
Yeah, totally agree. It's been a really tough year all round. We've been doing a lot of work with Michael Kill over at the NTIA, just to try and support a lot of those, all of the industries. And I think people don't really understand the whole ecosystem that goes into events. It's not simply a lineup.
No, absolutely, of course not. Yeah, exactly. And same with ticketing, really.
Yeah.
People underestimate, what goes into it. And certainly over the past, 9 months, or whatever it's been there, it's been tough. It's been interesting. It's how you adapt, really, and how you deal with things. And I hope if you ask the 10,000 clients or whatever we might have in the books, if we've been good, I'd like to think we probably get at least 8 out of 10. There are situations where we're not going to see eye to eye, and they're largely financial. Let's not beat around the bush here. promoters it's a tough job at the best of times. So we have to be very careful about how we go forwards with promoters. If there could be consumer money at risk. We are custodians to a degree of that transaction, and we have to make sure the transaction is either concluded by way of the event or they get a refund. So we have to be quite kind of careful on that, because we are processing financial transactions on behalf of people. So it's a serious job, obviously.
Yeah. And this year, I think that that support system with the ticket outlets has been so important, because I'm sure a lot of people who are tuning in today have been through plan A, B, C, D, and probably even more to get to this point. And there's been quite a lot of learnings along the way with that. So how can platforms like See Tickets support event owners, but really help them to instill confidence in customers during a ticket launch? Because you are right, there's a lot at stake there, and if the customers don't feel confident in it, I'm sure that could be a blocker. Are there any advice there?
I wish I had a smart answer for that. Our role in this is, I think it's incumbent on the event organizer to get that messaging out. Obviously, the bulk of our business we do is under white label guys anyway.
Yep.
So we're kind of anonymous. So our messaging or opinion, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's not relevant. We're only conveying the wishes of our clients throughout that transactional process. But that said, we do offer, we are a full service ticketing business. We're not a software house. Mm-hmm. So we have a ton of customer service. So that's where it can impact badly. But I thought Sam's point was interesting about it would be nice to take a year off. I'm not saying COVID has been a positive experience at all, but it has been a positive experience. That the lack of activity over there allowed us to reformat, restructure, and look at things in a different way. So going back to your point about keeping customers happy and answering all those weird and wonderful, we've invested heavily in a whole bunch of artificial intelligence, customer care stuff. That can answer a lot of, I wouldn't call them stupid questions, but the sort of questions that can clog up and take a lot of time dealing with. We can now bounce a lot of those away. Sort of 95% of our inquiries now are dealt with automatically, and that doesn't mean we're trying to bounce them off with ridiculous non-contextual answers. These are deeply contextual and relevant to that particular event that the customer's asking about. So I think that's been positive as well, but there's nothing been positive about any of it really, is there? Certainly financial numbers, that's for sure, but we'll survive. That's the main thing. We all will. Yeah,
sure. And next year, I think we all know, will be a year like no other. Hopefully events will return as soon as possible next year. But I wanted to find out if you had any thoughts on any changes to the way that events will operate in 2021, but more so from the kind of See Tickets and ticketing perspective. So things like cashless technology, will that be a must for 2021? Is there anything else that promoters should be thinking about?
It's another good question. I should have read your questions before and had some answers, shouldn't I, really? That'll teach me. Cashless, look, we danced around cashless as a business. I know it's not a true question. We don't have a cashless component to our proposition being based out of the UK. There's enough partners out there for us to double up with, and we do quite happily. So to your point about cashless though, is it a must-have for next year? Possibly, I don't know. Obviously, contactless payment with cards is one thing. I'm sort of sat on the fence with cashless, if that's part of the question. Yeah. The value to me is slightly opaque, but we'll be pragmatic about how we go forward with that, and if we have to dive in, then we will. But I think if event organisers need to make big changes to the events, then those events won't be the same. If we're talking about festivals, you cannot make a COVID-safe festival. You can, but it won't be a festival. It'll be horrendous, like bloody prison camp in a field. What's the point of that? Gigs, maybe. Certainly seated events, but I don't know if you watch football, but you see those, the crowds scattered across these stadiums. It's kind of miserable. They're doing the best to have a good time, but it looks very miserable to me. So I'd like to think no one has to make any special changes to their events to be safe, as it were, because they won't be the same events. Capacities will be reduced. The revenues will be reduced for the artist. There'd be a disincentive for, say, stateside artists to fly over to Europe to earn a quarter of the money they could have earned. If you're platinum rock star, do you really care? I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but I think if we're pessimistic and negative, it makes you fight harder. And it's and I think that's what we've all got to do at the moment. So I don't have my answer for what changes we do expect to events next year, but whatever they are, we're on hand to do our best to support those measures and those those whatever structures and mechanisms are in place, and do our best to make sure the customer, for our little fleeting sort of 5-minute interaction with them, in the majority of cases, is as good as it can be, and we make sure that when we meet them again on site, we're doing access control or whatever, it's done in a safe way, and everything's measured, and everybody feels safe. But let's hope we're past all this scared of going down the shop nonsense very soon, because I'm sure we're all agreed it's kind of tedious now, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I think next year is just about going in with a really positive message, giving confidence to customers that
Absolutely.
go ahead.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Good luck with everything in the new year, and hopefully we'll have you again soon.
All right then. Well, happy Christmas, everyone. Now, what's that? 113 people watching.
Yeah.
It's a record, isn't it? Fantastic. Great stuff. All right. Look after yourselves, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Rob. Okay, cool. So thank you for everyone who's tuned in today, and also all of the wonderful panelists we've had today who've shared some really interesting insights. So we'll be picking out some of the key takeaways from today, pushing out more content across our social channels. So if you've not followed us already, you can find us at Business Keeps on Dancing, and we'll share some of the insights that we've had today. And then we've got some more exciting news for our next panel. So we'll be back as part of the Secrets to a Successful Launch series. We're going to be back in the new year, 7th of Jan, put it in your diaries. And the topic that we're going to discuss in the new year is going to be all around the power of moments, and how important they can be in your launch. So if anyone did tune into a previous episode, we did touch on this earlier in the year, and we were talking about the power of moments and how that can be used as a tool in your customer service, but it can actually become a marketing channel. And by creating little moments that your customers remember, by going over and above for them, it actually is something that creates quite a long-lasting connection with your brand. So that being said, we think the power of moments is a huge part of your launch, and it really can't be underestimated for anyone who is planning their launch for early next year. And there's a really interesting book on this, if anyone didn't check it out last time, called The Power of Moments. It's by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. And a lot of what they talk about is the idea that we've got defining moments in our lives, which are often meaningful experiences that stand out in our memory. But what often happens in life is that you leave a lot of these memorable moments to chance. But when you kind of flip the script on that and begin to think of marketing and advertising, you can actually engineer these moments, and you can do them through your brand to create a longer lasting connection with your audience. So we've seen examples like Parklife with their epic animated lineup reveal video, which is something that people are actively looking out for each year. And I feel like that's probably one of the best examples that you can think of for launch videos. On our side, with AMP Lost and Found that we run in Malta, every year we always try and kind of think outside the box with our launch videos. We work with Annie Mac's team to come up with different creative concepts of how Annie can reveal a lineup in different videos where she's playing different characters. And every year I think it really helps to elevate the launch, and it helps it stand out in a sea of festival posters that I'm sure we're going to be seeing left, right and centre when it comes around to January. So just really thinking outside the box, and a lot of what they speak about in the book is about kind of raising expectations and going outside of the day-to-day expectations of what people would expect from your brand, and doing things differently. And I think that's really what sticks with people. It's what you tell your friends and family about. It's how you kind of create that natural virality and word of mouth. So as we said today, January is going to be a big month, but it's going to be a really competitive month for a lot of festivals that are launching in the new year. So we want to make sure we can help you as much as we can to make sure your launch stands out and create a memorable moment in the process. So the panelists we've got lined up for this panel are some of the best in the business at creating really unique, memorable moments through their brand. And we're going to have some really good examples that we can dissect with the panelists and really talk through different moments that they've created in the past, why they worked, how they made it happen, what the results were. And hopefully you'll be able to take away some insights from that to apply to your launch for next year. So stay tuned for the announcement this week. We've got the panelists to reveal very soon. If anyone's got any other questions or thoughts, we'd love to keep the conversation going. So feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn or on social media. You can follow the Business Keeps on Dancing channels, or you can also head over to our Facebook group, which is the Business Keeps on Dancing community, where we'll carry on the conversation there. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. This will be our last panel for the year. So hope everyone has a really nice festive period. Enjoy some time off. I'm sure we all need it and we've all earned it. So we'll catch you on the 7th of January next year. And yeah, can't wait to see you there. See you later. Bye.